Did you know that the Scottish and Irish were black people and they were the same nation?
What?
Mm-hmm. But let's stick with the Irish, right? So the Irish were a black people, right? Now, when the last black king was deposed from Britain, okay, Charles II, right?
Wait, what? He was a black king. Charles II was black?
His nickname when he was born was the Black Boy. Okay. And no, you're not going to find it on Google because
He looks his pictures are very white for a black man. He is very,
indeed,
very,
all the pictures,
very white looking.
You'll find out that Thomas Cromwell destroyed 97% of the artwork and manuscripts
Italian
and stuff.
So Italian.
Sorry?
Grandmother. Charles II. He was Italian, so he's white.
No, I'm afraid. Anyway, this guy, he was called the Black Boy. Right? And
yes, on his wanted poster, he was described as black, which was not his race.
Not only that, if you find a book called The Secret Service, the Memoirs of the Secret Services of John Mackay, right, you'll find, and John Mackay was a spy for William of Orange, and his job was to make an inventory of the noblemen of Great Britain. Okay, so he described all the noblemen in detail, and you'll find that the sons of Charles II were also described as black people, and some of them, it said, almost as black as their father, King Charles II. So he was of the Stuart line, right? He was a Stuart line. I've got an engraving of his father, Lord Henry Darnley, okay, and I've got engravings of Charles II himself, and a painting which is Charles II, right? He was a black man. He was the last of the black kings of Great Britain. Okay,
Charles, King of England.
Let's look at this guy. William of Orange took over, right? Then you had Cromwell. Oliver Cromwell. The first thing he did was attack Ireland and Scotland. Okay, Cromwell basically decimated the Irish population. It went down to by about 40%. Essentially, that's the males. He killed most of the males, right? Those he didn't kill, he transported to their new colony in the Caribbean, right? The women remained behind for the most part. Now, Oliver Cromwell couldn't pay his soldiers, so he gave them lands in Ireland, and those lands came with titles. So these soldiers ended up being like the Earl of Cork or whatever. And that's where prima nocta came in, right? Because what would happen is they would rape the women, and the darker skinned offspring got transported. The lighter skin got to stay. You do that for 300 years, yeah, what do you end up with?
Not Africans in Ireland. That's not what happened.
No, bearing in mind that they were already there. Okay. The actual Irish live in the Caribbean. I was looking at I found a book, right, that there's only two left in the country in England, called Whence the Black Irish of Jamaica.
All right, so it says here in the introduction, visitors to Jamaica and the British West Indies frequently remark a semen anomaly. And even the remotest sections of the bush, and among the darkest of the Negroes who clearly trace their ancestry back to the earliest slaves from Africa. No, that's not true, just because they're very dark. All right, just want to remind everybody. All right, we already went over this. All right, I'm going to keep putting early Irish people were black with blue eyes. Early Irish people were black with blue eyes. Okay, so that's the hijack when they're talking about their Africa stuff. That's conjecture. We already passed all that Pan-African false narratives. they will find distinctively Irish names. No matter literally what he's saying, it doesn't matter how dark they are, you're going to find Irish names so common that in an unguarded moment they are apt to give flight to the imagination and claim that they have actually encountered a touch of the brogue. All right, a few years ago in one school in Kingston might be found Burke, Collins, McKay, McDermott, McKeon, and Walsh, and with one exception, the last named, who was a dusky brown, they were to all appearances full-blooded Negroes. In a single classroom of another school, there were Collins, Kennedy, McCormick, and O'Hare. And here again, in only one case did the features or complexion indicate any infusion of Caucasian blood. All right, only one of them was light-skinned, he's saying, or looked a little bit white. Although this one too was as black as the rest, he's still a so-called Negro. Listen to what he's saying. Perhaps one of the names most frequently met with throughout the island is that of Burke. And
I'm a Murphy. I am a Murphy. Yeah. Okay. Now there's a book.
I'm the son of William King Wallace. Sure.
No, my name is Dave Murphy. Okay. Now it was the author was somebody who lived in Africa for a while and then went to live in Jamaica, and he was shocked to find that the black people in Jamaica were very different from the ones he saw in Africa, and they all had pure Irish names. So what he did, he assumed they got their names in slavery. Okay, that's what he assumed. He said, well, they must have got these Irish names in slavery.
It's a pretty good guess. A good guess.
So what he did was look at the land registry, right, to find the names. He couldn't find any of the names, right? Least of all because at the time, England was at war with Ireland and Scotland, and this was an English. So there would never be any Irish or Scottish landowners, right? He couldn't find the names. As soon as he went back to England, he checked Oliver Cromwell's records and he found the names, right? So Oliver Cromwell basically decimated half the population of Ireland. Those he didn't kill, he transported over to the Caribbean, which is where they are today, which is where I got my name from.
Back at the Irish Times, it says, "Welcome to Sligoville, the story of the Irish in Jamaica." Cromwell sent many Irish to Jamaica in the 1600s. The emigration continued for more than 200 years. All right. So think about that. Thousands and thousands of black Irish being sent to Jamaica for at least 200 years. So where's all the Africans? So if you have all this African labor, why would you continue to send Irish to your plantations for 200 years when that's, you have to pay them, you got to free them after 7 years, their indenture and all that? Because in reality, a lot of the black Irish were the ones that they told us in school were supposed to be from Africa. How a lot of these indentured servants, their indenture was for life in these plantations. They didn't have no freedom. A lot of them, that's why a lot of them became maroons and ran away.
We have been trained to trust without question what we are taught in the academia, absolutism of these United States. Now a new science has emerged that has produced results that are in direct conflict with the history that is being taught in the classrooms, all right? That science is genetics. But what is this issue? The pebble in the shoe that is putting genetics against history. The world history that is being taught in the classrooms omit the existence of the Black Scots, Black Irish, Black Brits, Black Italians, Black French, or Black Europeans that were sold directly into the American slave plantations. Again, what I've been saying, who was really coming in over here in ships by the thousands and thousands and thousands? That was Europeans.
Oliver Cromwell in Ireland. All right, so pay attention to this. It says Oliver Cromwell was Lord Protector of the Commonwealth of England, Ireland, and Scotland after the assassination of the Scottish English King Charles I. Upon taking military command of the Commonwealth, he invaded Ireland. And history states that he committed genocide in Ireland. All right, this is facts. This is history. And he did this to people of color, thousands of them, against the black population, so-called black Irish. The black Irish that he didn't kill, he sold into the slave trade. The slave trade, the real Middle Passage. This is what we've been learning recently, right? right? If anybody foreign came, it wasn't mainly Africans. It was actually European indentured servants. They were sending convicts, undesirables. Remember, we've already gone through the primary sources and we're going to continue. I'm going to show you way more of this proof. In 1641, Cromwell had 300,000 black Irish. Again, 300,000 black Irish sold into the North Atlantic slave trade, and in 1650, he had 100,000 Irish Scottish children sold into the Barbados. This is history. We've gone over this. Now, this is the family Gilbert crest, as he's saying, Irish coat of arms. All right, get a little close up. You see, this is the Gilberts from Ireland. You can look this up. It says this is an image of black Irish coat of arms from the Gilbert family. 3 of the Gilberts related to this coat of arms have been traced to Barbados. Thomas Gilbert, Barbados 1635, all right? Do the genealogy, do the research, follow up if you want to prove it. Francis Gilbert, Virginia, 1736, and Robert Gilbert, Barbados, 1678. He's letting you know these are black Irish, these people that landed in Barbados. The timeline fits with the eyewitness accounts of the Irish being shipped into the slave trade, but I have greater witness than this, he says. It says here on page 32, North Atlantic slave trade, Rod Hart report, 1976. I look it up. The black Irish that came into Jamaica had 2 places of origin, either Ireland or Barbados. Close to 300,000, all right? 300,000 black Irish came directly from Ireland, and the rest came from Barbados. 70% of all black slaves on the island of Barbados came from Ireland. Again, 70% of all black slaves on the island of Barbados came from Ireland. In the 1925 census of Jamaica, there were 916,000 people on the island, and only 2% were white. And that's what I've been trying to tell you. Now, let's be logical. If we know there's not Africans coming over here, all right, but they are bringing hundreds of thousands of Europeans as indentured servants over to the sugar plantations, where are they today? Where's their descendants? Shouldn't it be more light or pale, the population? This is what he's trying to tell you. Let's be logical. In 1925, there was 916,000 people on the island, and only 2% were white. And that's because the aboriginals were so-called Negro, and most of these Europeans that were being sent over there were black Europeans. All right? Now, this includes Marcus Garvey's family. They're Irish. You understand why he was saying go back to Africa? He ain't even from here. Says here, Ole Time Something, a lighthearted peek into Jamaica's past. The Jamaica-Irish connection. And who do we have here? We have Marcus Garvey, right? Famous Jamaicans, Bob Marley, Marcus Garvey, and Claude McKay were all African-Irish descent. That's the hijack with the African, right? Bob Marley, yeah. Says here, next to persons of African descent, that's the hijack. People of color or Negroes, that's the hijack, all right? We've already debunked that. The largest racial ethnic group in Jamaica are Irish ancestry. So they're just trying to add the African because these are people of color. This is a surprise, as many Jamaicans thought the next largest group to be East Indians. Now listen to this, all right? This part right here is deep. It is believed Marcus Mosiah Garvey, who founded the Universal Negro Improvement Association in August 1914, had Irish ancestry. The Irish Rising of 1916 appeared to have profound impact on and influenced the Jamaican national hero. That's what influenced Marcus Garvey? You mean it wasn't African things? The Rising on Eastern April 1916 is a pivotal event in Irish history. It led to the partition and the cremation of the Independent Republic of Ireland. The rest of the island became Northern Ireland, a colony of Britain, which has had a long struggle for independence from Britain and reunification with the Irish Republic. In Black and Green, the fight for civil rights in Northern Ireland and Black America, Brian Dooley said, Garvey was one of the several black nationalists who studied and admired the Irish Republican approach. Listen to this. Garvey's Irish influences had begun as early as 1910, when he was Assistant Secretary of the National Club of Jamaica, whose founder S.A.G. Cox had admired the Sinn Féin movement while studying in the early years of the century. Dooley contended that Garvey based many of his black nationalist ideas on the Irish model. Noted Garvey scholar Robert Hill said as much in the Marcus Garvey and Universal Negro Improvement Association papers. Far more than any other nationalist struggle, the Irish revolutionary struggle assisted in focusing Garvey's political perspective. Hill indicated that even the slogan made famous by Garvey, Africa for the Africans at home and abroad, echoed the oft-repeated Irish slogan, the Irish race at home and abroad. All right, he copied it, he plagiarized it, and he made it into Africa. Listen to this. Yeah, Marcus Garvey is actually Irish. He ain't African. All right, so real quick, want to take the opportunity to invite you guys, if you have not watched my video on Marcus Garvey and his white friends. Marcus Garvey had many white supremacist friends. They had the same values, meaning they all wanted to send colored folks to Africa. And they funded him with his ships. So isn't it funny that he's Irish, actually, and that his values were learned from the Irish struggle, and he turned it into African. It's called the Jacobite Gleanings from State Manuscript, Short Sketches of Jacobites, the transportation in 1745. All right, so again, the Jacobites were prisoners of war. They were transported by Protestants, Oliver Cromwell, to the Americas, to the plantations, to the Caribbean, to Virginia, many different plantations. These were the people working in your so-called cotton and tobacco fields too. And these were black Scottish, black Irish people. This is just one example of the passenger list. These are, again, Jacobites. This is from Harvard University. We got Robert Adam, he's brown. When you see what says remarks right here, William Bell, black, curled hair. Just like Joseph Ritson in that first book we just read said that the Highlanders are black with curled hair, brown complexion with curled hair, just like this guy, William Bell. Dougal Campbell, brown complexion. We're gonna see a Campbell tomorrow in somebody's genealogy, so you guys can see Campbells coming from Scotland have a brown complexion. They were already so-called Negro. That says Alex Katanak, black ruddy. Dougal Campbell, again, brown, ditto, swarty, ruddy, black. I mean, guys, we go over a lot. We go over a whole list here. You guys can see Alex Davidson, ruddy. Andrew Edwards, black, ditto. Alex Goodbrand, brown, black, brown, black. These are the passengers, the prisoners that are being transported to plantations. Now, if these people are so-called Negroes and they're being sent to the plantations, now you guys got to rethink of the whole slavery thing. We got McIntoshes here, McPhersons, McQueens, McDonald's, and a lot of familiar names. As you guys can see, Johnson, Brown, Grant, Brown, Gordon, ditto, Kennedy, black, well made, Kennedy.